Be a part of the best pro wrestling podcast today by supporting the Going In Raw Patreon. You can enjoy access to the live taping of the show, exclusive merchandise, and patron-only episodes, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today. Click the link in the description. Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome to Going In Raw Countout, the only pro wrestling countdown show here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. We're also available wherever fine podcasts are in the audio realm. Be sure to hit the subscribe or download button. It really helps out the show.
Yes.
We're also available on the Patreon at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. If you want to financially support the show, we have plenty of reward tiers you can choose from. $1, $5. We're coming up with one coming up in like a week or so. That's going to be a $200,000 Patreon mark.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll find out what that's all about come June 1st. Anyways, we're also on ProWrestlingTees.com/Going In Raw. You can get this shirt at New Japan's Pro Wrestling Tee Shop. I'm waiting for my Congress Under Mecha Santa shirt to show up. That should be any day now because I think I ordered them on back-to-back days during that last sale. So I'll be wearing that soon to support.
That is a good-looking shirt.
Going In Raw. Absolutely. You have a new one on the way, don't you?
Yeah.
The new design guru.
That's what you're calling me.
What's your hesitation? Why can't you just accept that compliment?
Oh, I'm not denying it.
You're not denying that you are the new design
No, I'm
guru.
not denying the compliment. I think it's very nice.
Okay, good.
But I don't consider myself a guru.
You should. So anyways, we're not here to talk about design gurus, Larson. What are we here to talk about?
Surprising world title victories now at Backlash. In fairly surprising fashion.
Yeah.
Jinder Mahal won the WWE Championship for Randy Orton.
Yeah.
So, of course, that got us to thinking about other world title wins that were pretty surprising.
We gave Jinder like a 0.1 to 2% chance.
By the time the match actually happened, we bumped that up to 20%.
Yeah, but still,
It's
overcoming 80% odds against you is pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty surprising.
Yes.
Here are 10 other surprise title changes.
Yes.
Number 10.
10.
Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31.
Yeah, we were there.
We were there. It was very shocking because I literally stayed true to my word and left during the open of the Brock Lesnar. Actually, it was the close of the match before that, preceding that.
Yeah, you went to the merchandise stand
to get my merchandise because I was like, you know what? I know what this Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match is going to be like. So
it didn't really enter our mind that there was a possibility that a Money in the Bank cashing could happen at WrestleMania because it had never happened before.
It had never, ever happened before. So, of course, Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank prior to WrestleMania on June something or another. I didn't write that down. Won Money in the Bank, and he held on to it for, that's almost a year. It's 10 months or so.
Yeah.
So he was Mr. Money in the Bank for a very long time.
Yes, he was.
They used that as part of his angle because it was only shortly before that, I think it was like a couple weeks before that he actually turned heel against the Shield, or he turned on the Shield, joined the Authority. Like I said, we were there. We all thought this was going to be sort of Roman Reigns' coronation as top dog in his yard.
Yeah, I've this is how I've described the feeling in the stadium that day. That there was this point in the match. The match starts out with Brock dominating Reigns.
Yeah.
Reigns, bit by bit, starts to come back. Mm-hmm. And it gets to the point where they're kind of on equal footing. And we feel like, the tide has turned. This is where Reigns... Because even back then, 3 years ago, whatever it was, nobody liked Roman Reigns. Except Vince.
That's right.
Pretty much. He came out, he got booed a lot.
That's right. Yeah, he did.
And so they were both down the mat, and we're like, oh, great. Roman's going to get up.
Let me ask you
Superman
something.
punch, 3 spears, win the belt.
The people have only grown to even dislike him more.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't as bad as it is now. It was still bad.
But it's worse now.
It's worse now.
It's definitely worse
now.
Anyway, so I think the mood in the stadium was generally, oh, gosh, here it comes. This is where Reigns wins. And then Seth's music hits, and I think everybody kind of looked at each other like, this is the way out of this. This is the way where Roman isn't winning the belt. That someone we actually like is going to win.
Okay, but hold on. For me, I can speak for me personally. It was, oh God, this is a way out. Please let them do it. Please let them do it. Because you're looking at, he's facing 2 other guys who are booked to the moon strong.
Yes.
Just absolutely massively strong. And so it was completely within the realm of possibility that he was just going to blow this opportunity.
Yeah.
And so, but of course it didn't happen. And they choreographed this.
They put a little doubt in your mind that Seth was gonna walk out of there as champion.
It was like, I mean, honestly, it was horror movie tension. When he comes running down there, you're running in this pit of like beasts, and you're with him on this. It's like, he's the heel. I mean, we were both Rollins fans anyway.
Yeah.
But he's the heel, and it's like, oh, he's gonna make this cool now.
Yeah.
But it's like, he's actually going to do it, and he's got the ref, and he's all freaking out, and the ramp is forever long.
Yeah, and he's sprinting down.
It was, I want to say it was Chioda that was with him.
Oh, I don't remember.
I don't remember which ref it was, but he was running too, and he gets in there, and what's the sequence of events? Because it ended with him.
So there was a bit of back and forth. Lesnar gets Rollins up for an F5. Lesnar kind of turns around because he's kind of in the corner, I believe. Roman spears him.
Yeah.
So Rollins gets out of the F5 attempt. As Reigns is getting up from the spear, Rollins gives him a curb stop.
It was beautifully done.
And gets the pin on him.
And of course, this is after Rollins had already lost to Randy Orton with a beautiful RKO out of nowhere. And so we kind of figured, okay, well, he's done. I mean, I don't know why we didn't think that this is even a possibility.
Well, we weren't as tuned in as we are now.
I guess not. Now we've been there, done everything. So yeah, and we just, I mean, the state of euphoria we were all in leaving the stadium that night was next level in terms of wrestling euphoria.
I dare say unparalleled so far in terms of our live experiences.
Oh, for sure.
Live event experiences.
In terms of like that moment, that was the highest I've ever felt off the moment. I mean, in terms of like total encapsulating nights, the PWG show we went to was like just a really, really great wrestling crowd to be a part of.
Probably the second closest thing I can think of is when we went to NXT Brooklyn and Shinsuke won the title from Joe.
Oh yeah, that was huge too. So, but no, I mean, I still can play this back in my head, like the beat of his music kicking in and his name. Because, that screen, that Titantron
gigantic.
is massive. And even from the seats that we had, which were good seats, but they weren't like on the field or anything, it was, I mean, I'll be honest, those, like, I actually much prefer those seats to the ones we had this year on the field, simply because you get an overview of everything. And so sitting there and then seeing his giant name come up.
And we both looked at each other like this.
It was jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
It was absolutely jaw-dropping. I get like sort of goosebumps even thinking about it, like reliving it. That was an absolute shocker. Very surprising.
Yes.
And of course he had I mean, it wasn't the most even world title. It was booked weaker than I would have liked.
He was booked as a weak heel, but he played the role exceptionally well. Held the belt for about 7 months before he blew out his knee at a house show.
I mean, my only qualm with the way he was booked was the way he would win matches, because his matches were always stellar.
Yeah.
It was just, man, can we get a non-J&J security finish here, please?
Yeah.
Or a non-Kane finish.
Yeah.
Number 9. Mikey Whipwreck.
So this one isn't necessarily so much just the nature of the win itself being a surprise, but just kind of his career arc.
Yeah.
In ECW to begin with, because he started out as a volunteer member of the ring crew. Mm-hmm. And then, I guess
he didn't even
get paid. He and I think some others just wanted an opportunity to
bounce around the ring before
and after shows. And then Joey Styles took notice of him, brought him to the attention of Paul Heyman, and from there Paul Heyman signed him on, and he started out as a jobber.
Yeah.
But then it seemed like, he was a much smaller competitor than a lot of people on ECW. And, he quickly became an underdog that the ECW arena could really root for.
He was kind of a case of just the ultimate, like living vicariously through another person, because the dude was not, he was just the most regular looking guy. And they played that in some degrees to comedic effect, well, a lot to comedic effect. Because, for example, I believe him and Cactus Jack won the tag team titles. Yes. And there's a couple of great promo, at least one great promo where Cactus Jack is talking about, all the violence and whatnot, and Mikey is just not into it at all. Like, he's not interested in any of it. So he was like, in that respect, he was kind of like a hesitant champion, but he would somehow, some way, find a way to win when it kind of mattered.
Yeah, because as he
won
started
the television championship.
Yes, and then, as you mentioned, tag team titles with Cactus Jack, and his push kind of reached its peak when he won a number one contender match for the ECW World title, and he had a ladder match on the October 31st, 1994 edition of Hardcore Television.
A brutal match.
Yeah, against the Sandman, who was champion at the time. Ladder match. It was pretty brutal.
And it was like he didn't. It's not like he won thanks to shenanigans.
No, he didn't use a whippersnapper to win.
Yeah,
he hit the Sandman a few times with the ladder. One a pretty stiff shot to the head that busted the Sandman open.
Oh yeah, he was busted open.
Oh yeah, and then Whipwreck laid the ladder across him. He went to the top rope, did a splash, and picked up the win.
Yeah, and the entire face locker room comes out and celebrates with him.
Yes, and Cactus Jack too.
And Cactus Jack, that's right. Yeah. He only held it for about a month and change. After that, there was a three-way dance between Sandman, him, and Austin, Steve Austin, who was doing those promos at the time, and ended up losing it there. But yeah, I mean, he was sort of the very. It was kind of like a gift to the fans to have sort of the guy who personifies them win the title. So people were pretty surprised that happened. Number 8. Bob Backlund.
So Bob Backlund, of course, he was a former WWF champion.
Yeah, this is not like when. Well, this was still WWF.
Yeah, this is like in the late 70s, early 80s. He was a prominent.
He was actually a champion.
Yeah, he was one of the top names in WWF.
Yeah, but by the time 1994 came around,
he was not.
Correct.
He had not been in WWF for
a while. He was 45.
Yeah, 45 or so. He was in a feud with Bret Hart, who at the time was WWF champion. And they had a match at Survivor Series 94. It was a submission match. Here's kind of the interesting part about how this match worked. It wasn't as if... Because you go back to submission matches and you think Stone Cold Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13.
Sure, yeah.
That was a submission match.
Yeah.
Where the two people in the match would have to give up to lose. But that was not the case in this match. Each competitor had someone in their corner. Bret had the British Bulldog. Backlund had Bret's brother, Owen Hart. And so to win the match... you had to put a submission move on your opponent, and their corner person would have to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
So that was how the match was constructed. So it's a long match. I think like 35 minutes long. And I felt like the last half of it is Bret Hart in the chicken wing.
I feel like come November, we're going to be doing this for our bad pay-per-view review
could
show.
Be. There's a lot of Survivor Series to choose from.
We fired this thing up to rewatch this match. And like you get all the different Survivor Series teams like revving each other up.
Yeah.
And like one was like Team Luger, and it was Luger, Mabel, Atom Bomb, I think.
Oh, I think it was Crush.
Oh, it was Crush. Hold on. Wasn't Crush and Atom Bomb the same person?
No, they're two different people because they're both in Chronic later on.
Okay. And then and the Smoking Guns.
Yeah. And then
Team Luger
HBK
also
had his own team of himself, Diesel,
which immediately it's a stacked team.
Well, then there's also Jeff Jarrett on that team.
We'll talk about that in November.
Yeah. So, anyways,
but
this
yeah,
match
let's get
is
back
really
to this
long.
35-minute
Yeah,
match.
this match is super long. I feel like the last half of it was Backlund. Backlund had Bret in the crossface chicken wing.
They were spooning on the floor of the mat for the longest time.
It felt like at least 10 minutes.
The longest time.
So
at some point, like 10 minutes prior, Bulldog got knocked out.
Yeah, he got KO'd.
So for the duration of him getting KO'd and the end of the match, he was out on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly.
There wasn't a concussion protocol back in 94, man.
Okay, but here's the thing. Even if there wasn't a concussion protocol, the fact that nobody really took notice and then tried to help him for that long a time if somebody's out cold, that's not natural for somebody to be knocked out. I
agree.
That's like death status right there. That's like this guy just got knocked into a coma. You should immediately begin emergency procedures.
Agreed. But this is professional wrestling. So anyways, with Bulldog knocked out on the floor, Owen goes the ringside area where Stu and
Mama Hart.
Yeah. Is it Helen?
Mrs. Oh, Helen sounds right.
Helen Hart. I'll say that. I think I read that. Helen Hart. Mrs. Hart.
Susan Hart.
We'll say Mrs. Hart. We're sitting ringside, and Owen starts pleading with
Brett's mom.
Specifically, their mother, to throw in the towel on Brett's behalf because, now suddenly Owen is his conscience is
eating away at him.
Yeah, because his
That's my brother
is there.
That's my brother!
In the cross-faced chicken wing for at least 15 minutes.
And I'll tell you what, I love Owen. Owen did a hell of a job acting this out, selling it. It was fantastic. I thought Owen was like the most entertaining segment about this.
So Mrs. Hart, she's conflicted. She wants to help her son.
Correct. At
the same time, Stu's like, nope.
Stu's like, no, we don't do that in this family.
Nope.
No, we don't do that. You deal with it. You deal with the pain.
Yeah. Brett, if you're such a great wrestler, get out of the hold.
That's Stu Hart's controversial opinion is the same as ours. Brett's
so eventually, Owen pleads enough that his mother throws in the towel.
Yeah.
And Bob Backlund is your new WWF champ at the age of 45.
Now, I couldn't tell. It was very surprising. He held the belt for 3 days.
Yes. Before losing it at a house show at Madison Square Garden to Diesel.
In a match that lasted how long?
8 seconds. Right. I think it was a kick and a powerbomb and a 3 count.
Yeah. It was 8. It would have been like 4 seconds if it was like Scott Hall, but it was Diesel, so he's slow.
It would have been 3 seconds if it was HBK because it's super kick pin.
Super kick pin, exactly. But what was funny is that the crowds were number one. The WWF title changed hands mid-show, so this was like. This was not the main event. The main event was Yokozuna versus Undertaker, which I'm sure was another.
It was a casket match or something.
Casket match, exactly. And Chuck Norris was there to enforce things. And if you have Chuck Norris in a match, obviously it's going to be the main event. This was like held in the middle of the in the middle of the card. So that's kind of where you see how they treated the WWF title at the time. It was sub Yoko, Undertaker, Chuck Norris. It was sub like best Survivor Series team. It was underneath all those. This was, I think, after the Doink and Lawler match. Because the Doink had his team of little people wrestlers. Lawler had his own team of little people wrestlers. And they fought. And then Doink put a pie in the face of Lawler, which naturally led to the WWF World title match after that. There was still like a lot of show left. This was a 35-minute match. The crowd seemed completely apathetic towards this.
They were chanting for Brett to get out of the hold at one point.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the finish, I think first was bewilderment until they started to present the belt to Backlund, and then there was boos.
Yeah. They're like, this is BS. But yeah, it was very underwhelming, as much of a lot of wrestling was in 1994.
Yeah, but at the time, even still thinking about it in hindsight, having Backlund at 45 years old, who hadn't been in WWF for a while, coming in and defeating your top guy for the belt is a pretty huge surprise.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I mean, it also speaks to how much of a top guy Bret Hart really was. But that's a controversial opinion for another day.
Another time.
Number 7.
7.
Chris Jericho beats Triple H on Raw.
So this was on the April 17th, 2000 episode of Raw.
It was either April 7th or April 17th. Wikipedia said 17th, and the WWE video playback of this said the 7th.
Well, I'm going to trust WWE.
All right, so this happened on April 7th, 2000. And so...
This opened the show, right?
Yeah, Jericho was white hot. He was white. This is about a year or so after his debut. He was white hot. And this was back when like anything could happen on Raw.
Yeah.
Like anything could happen on. There was a lot of title changes on Raw.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them. But anyways, Jericho challenged Triple H, I guess. I forget what the setup was exactly. But anyways, Triple H bit. Jericho ended up beating Triple H. Earl Hebner did do a quick 3 count. And I think this was during the very extended period of time when Triple H and Earl Hebner had kind of a side feud going, because Triple H would always be on Earl Hebner's case, and Earl Hebner would always be yelling at him. And that played into a couple matches throughout like a 3-year time period. It was weird. But in any event, later, so Jericho won the title, basically hightailed it out of there, ran out of there.
Yeah.
Triple H got up and he started freaking out. The crowd was going crazy. It was just, that was the great thing about Raw back then. They had all those moments of pandemonium where, oh my God, what just happened? The crowd's going crazy and people are freaking out.
Yeah.
That happened a lot on Raw.
Yeah.
And so Triple H, I think they came back from like commercial, or maybe it was in like a couple segments later. I forget. But anyways, he bullied Earl. He said, Earl, get down here. And he bullied him into reversing the decision. He showed the tape back, and he says that was a really fast count. It was. And so he made Jericho come back out, and he took the championship back from him. And it was one of those things that even so, I was like a big Triple H guy back then.
Yeah.
Even that broke me. I was like, oh, that's the most heel crap ever. I'm so upset right now.
Yeah.
But if you're looking back on it, it was like, oh my God, that's like the coolest thing a heel can do is
I know.
bully his way back into having
Being
a title.
champion.
Yeah, exactly. Don't touch my feet.
Sorry.
Jericho did go on to legitimately win the Undisputed Championship by beating Rock and Stone Cold in the same night at Vengeance 2001, so like a year later.
Yeah.
But at the time, he was sort of a heel. I don't think people really wanted Jericho to be a heel. It wasn't like when he was a really good heel. It was like, it was just a poorly booked, I think, cowardly heel type thing. And I remember watching his when he won that. I mean, hell, that actually could have been on this list because he won the Undisputed Championship by beating The Rock and Stone Cold. And not a lot of people, I think, expected that to happen. And then his run really wasn't all that great.
Yeah,
like, I remember seeing him come out. Maybe when he lost it to Triple H, or maybe it was just one of the times when he was actually champion, and just people did not seem to be into it. He wasn't getting like a lot of heel heat.
Yeah.
It was just people were not into it that much. So that wasn't like the best. But it's always cool to say, hey, you know what? It wasn't The Rock. It wasn't Stone Cold. It wasn't Triple H who was the first Undisputed Championship.
It wasn't Kurt Angle.
Yeah, it was Chris Jericho. So that's always cool because we love Chris Jericho.
We do.
Number 6.
6.
Mankind. He won the title on Raw.
Yeah, so this was the same night as the infamous Finger Poke of Doom.
December 29th.
January 4th, 1999.
Well, it was taped on the 29th.
Yes, and that's how WCW knew the results of the match because it was pre-taped.
Correct.
And so they spoiled the finish of this match live on air.
Yeah. Classy Eric Bischoff.
I know. When Tony Schiavone, as you said, with Eric Bischoff telling him to say this, told people what the outcome of the match was. But apparently it didn't work in WCW's favor because over 500,000 people turned the channel from Nitro to Raw to see Mick Foley win his first world title.
Yeah, man. People like Mankind.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, man. Yeah. This is, again, one of those pandemonium moments where he won it thanks to help from number 1 DX, number 2 Stone Cold.
Yeah, who gave The Rock a stunner.
Right. But of course that led to like a really, really great feud between The Rock and Mankind. He actually lost it not even a month later. At the Royal Rumble. When's the Rumble? The Rumble's at the end of January?
Yeah, so less than a month later. But then the Mankind won it back, I think, at the Empty Arena match.
Yeah, the Empty Arena match. Yeah.
And then Rock won it again. So at the beginning of the night, Mankind had a match against Triple H with Shane McMahon as the guest referee. Mm-hmm. Shane cost Foley the match. And then so Triple H wins. But then Triple H pedigrees Shane, and then Mick puts Shane in like a submission hold and demands a title shot later that night and threatens to break Shane's arm, I believe.
Yeah, that's what happened, yeah.
And then so Vince gives him the match, no disqualification. So we have this match as a main event, and as you mentioned, it's like overbooked, but it's wonderfully overbooked.
Yeah, exactly. And the crowd was just eating it up. The crowd was insane for this.
Yes. It was great.
No, it was fantastic. I remember watching this live. It was
me too.
Fantastic. And yeah, it was like, and then it's like you flip over to WCW.
And you get that ridiculous garbage that's going on there. Where I remember watching that too. Because here in California, we'd get Nitro from 5 to 8, and we could turn over to Raw right afterwards because Nitro would always end at 8 because they had to play Robin Hood or whatever the show was on afterwards.
Yeah.
And so we could just turn right to Raw, and we get all 5 hours of wrestling in a row. We didn't have to worry about it.
That was so much fun, man. We go hang out at Jeff's and watch it or Nate's and watch it.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
So we get to watch all that. So you watch the Finger Poke of Doom. You hear Schiavone talk about stuff, and you're like, "What?" And you're like, "This is stupid.
Yeah.
Why are they ending a show this way? This is really stupid." Yeah. And you watch Raw, and it's like 2 vibrant, exciting hours of wrestling, and it ends in such a euphoric moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Not another.
At that point,
Sting's in the rafters. We're going to Robin.
Yeah, I know. At that point, WCW is like, okay, I'm watching just to see how bad it could get.
Yeah, I know exactly. Like, for me, it was kind of like always. Well, is this ever going to get better? Like, can they do some cool, shocking stuff? But all their shocking stuff was just crap. Number 5. Andre the Giant beats Hulk Hogan, brother.
So this was on Saturday Night Main Event, February 5th, 1988. I remember watching this when it happened.
Yeah, you've told me this before.
Yes. Well, we've talked about this match before on other episodes. So it was a match.
I always get confused with all these. So there was Hogan beating Andre at WrestleMania 3. Did this predate that?
No, this is afterwards.
This is after that.
Yes.
Okay.
So this match was for the WWF Championship, which Hogan at this point had for like 4 years.
Okay.
He had it forever.
All right.
And this was during the time when Andre aligned himself with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
Okay, right.
And so,
how long after WrestleMania 3 was this?
WrestleMania 3 was 87.
87.
So almost a year.
Okay, all right.
So
there had probably been like 2 story beats in that year.
Probably. I know stories moved much slower back then.
They really did.
So this is the match with the twin referees.
Oh yeah, Dave
and Earl Hebner.
Yeah.
So one of them was Dave, I believe, was a referee during the actual match.
Yeah.
Counted the pinfall even though Hogan like kicked out at 3 or something like that.
Right.
But still counted as a win. Gave Andre the belt, and this is when Andre gave the belt to DiBiase.
Right.
Because DiBiase effectively bought the belt.
He had a lot of money.
Yes. He was the $1 million man.
Right.
I think Hogan around this time was going to go and shoot No Holds Barred.
Oh, okay.
So he needed to take a break from television.
Right.
So this is a storyline they put in place. Of course, Jack Tunney stripped DiBiase of the belt because he didn't win it. He bought it.
Right. Yeah.
And so they set up.
This isn't eBay. This is the WWF.
Exactly. So they set up a tournament, declare a new WWF champion at WrestleMania 4, which Macho Man won.
Oh yeah.
With the help from Hogan.
Oh yeah.
But
shoot your movie. Yeah.
At this point, after 4 years, Hogan seemed basically unbeatable.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it was pretty darn surprising. Even Andre, who is a legend in the industry, to have him beat Hogan for the belt on network television.
Now this was okay. So it had the twin refs. Was it also like Hogan had kind of like one shoulder up?
Yeah.
Okay, so
it wasn't a clean.
He
count.
kicked out, not kicked out. Okay,
yeah.
I got you. Okay, friggin' Hogan, you can't just take a friggin' loss. I'm the man.
But I remember watching this and thinking it was crazy that Hogan lost.
Yeah,
that was just a shocking thing. And if you're a wrestling fan, back then, and Hogan lost, you're like, what?
What the heck is that?
That never happened.
Well, they saved that for NBC primetime television.
They did.
Right there, yeah. Number 4.
4.
Ron Simmons beats Vader.
So this took place on August 2nd, 1992 at a show in Baltimore, Maryland. Originally advertised was Sting to take on Vader for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, but then during the course of the show, he was injured,
quote unquote,
yes, by Jake the Snake Roberts.
Fake injured.
Yeah. Yes. And then after that, Bill Watts, who was in charge of running WCW at the time, had a drawing,
a random selection.
Yeah, to find a new opponent for Vader.
Yeah,
and Ron Simmons was selected for that spot.
I wonder if RoboCop's name was in the drawing.
This is 2 years after RoboCop was in WCW.
There you go. So he might have still been under contract. He's like a super part-timer like Brock Lesnar.
I'm pretty sure that was just a by appearance fee.
When did RoboCop 3 come out? Because they could have done another thing. This could have been RoboCop, but instead it was Ron Simmons. Fortunately for Ron Simmons, his name was chosen, and they had a match. And man, crowd was super behind Ron Simmons, big time. B, when he won, they went crazy.
Yeah,
they went absolutely crazy. Now it's kind of interesting is that so we looked at it like a shoot interview with Ron Simmons, and they said, so why did they decide to put the belt on you that night? Because usually there's reasons for these things. WCW kind of never really cared about reasons. And so he said, I have no idea.
And he wasn't told he was going to win the title until he showed up that day at the arena.
Right, exactly. If you get a chance to watch it, it is actually really a joy to watch.
Yes.
Because number one, it is actually Ron Simmons was really fast. Like, he was a really fast power wrestler back then.
Yeah, athletic too.
Yeah, he was a very athletic power wrestler. Vader, for his size, fairly athletic dude. I mean, he used to do moonsaults and shit.
Yeah.
So to watch the finish of this, and see the crowd's reaction, but then the face locker room comes down. But the locker room, the guys that came down, Ron Simmons must have been loved in that locker room, because there is legit. It's one thing for like when Luger beat Yokozuna at WrestleMania 10. You can tell those guys had to have their arms twisted to go out there and celebrate with Lex Luger.
Yeah.
None of them really seemed to care much.
No.
You could see every single one of them. And I know there's like probably a Wyndham in there.
Yeah, Barry Windham was in there. Brian Pillman.
Brian Pillman was there.
Tom Zank.
Tom Zank was there. The Z-Man was there. They all seem legitimate. Dustin Runnels.
Oh, yeah.
Goldust was there.
Yeah.
They all seem legitimately, overwhelmingly ecstatic for this guy.
Yes.
They're like grabbing him, putting the title on him, like holding his head. Like, they are going ballistic for him. They're going as ballistic as the crowd was, and the crowd was going ballistic for him. And he was so emotional over it.
Yeah.
This was a massive moment. First African-American world champion. And man, it was just a legitimate moment of pure joy.
Yes.
And it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder what the reason, if it was because, hey, you know what a great moment. Let's make some history here. Because I think at the time, 92 was around the time like Flair,
at
Brett.
The time,
who's the champ at the time? And
Randy Savage was WWF champ.
Randy was world champion at the time. Wait, that was when Savage was at his like second title run?
Or third.
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
I think it was his last in WWF.
So maybe it was just, hey, let's try to make some waves. Let's try to make some noise. They're based in Atlanta. Obviously, that's a heavy African American community there. Whatever the reason was, it made for a great moment.
Oh, a fantastic moment.
And he was champion for 5 months.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the greatest title run or anything. He ended up losing it back to Vader December 30th, 92.
Yeah.
But, surely, down the line, especially with how much he accomplished after the fact, his legendary tag team with Bradshaw.
Yeah.
As Farouk as a singles competitor, he also, during the Attitude Era, he was Farouk for the tag run too.
Yeah.
But it's always great to look back on that, and that is a prestigious moment in wrestling history
absolutely.
right there. So it was kind of cool.
Very cool.
Damn. Number three.
The
Montreal Screwjob.
We've talked about this match a lot.
Oh, it's so fun to talk about.
Oh, I know.
It's so fun to watch.
Let's think of a different angle to take on it. So we all know what happened. Brett was about to leave WCW, but Vince didn't want him leaving with the WWF World Title. So he was presented with several scenarios by which he would drop the belt before going to WCW.
He said no.
Well, Brett didn't want to lose in Canada.
No.
That was his thing. He just didn't want to lose in Canada.
It would be like assassinating my character.
Yeah, that's what he said.
The Hitman character.
Brett takes his character too seriously.
Yeah, he does.
So to make sure that Brett didn't show up on Nitro with the WWF title, Vince, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and who else is in that meeting?
Patterson or Briscoe? I think Patterson.
Yeah.
Or Slaughter?
I don't remember. There was another WWF executive back there. Devised a plan by which they could get the belt off Brett. So this happened at Survivor Series 97 in Montreal, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
There was a spot where HBK was supposed to put Brett in the sharpshooter.
Mm-hmm.
Brett was supposed to reverse. The match was going to continue. Oh, Hebner knew in advance.
Yeah.
But what happened was while Brett was in the sharpshooter, before he had a chance to reverse, Hebner called for the bell, awarding the match to Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
So Brett legit pissed.
Oh, big time.
Because he didn't know.
Oh, unhappy.
Shawn Michaels did a really good job of acting pissed.
Yeah. Acting like he didn't know.
He knew.
He knew.
But he did a really good job selling like he didn't.
Yeah. From what I was able to gather, it seems like Triple H was the guy who sort of broached the subject of.
Okay, because I think he tells a story where they're all sitting in the room and it's quiet, and he says something like, "Well, let me just take the belt off him."
Yeah.
Just matter of factly like that.
Dad, let's take the belt. Why'd you call me Dad?
Did he say if he's not going to play ball or something like that?
Sounds like it, yeah. I thought it was a phone conversation. Maybe they're all in the room. I don't know. Anyways, he's not going to play ball. Let's take the belt off him.
So after the match, Bret Hart spits in Vince McMahon's face.
That was gross.
Destroys like the entire commentary booth, goes backstage, knocks out Vince.
It created a magnificent moment, though. It is truly bizarre to watch this.
I was a really casual WWF observer at this point until I heard, I didn't watch the pay-per-view, but I heard about it. I was like, oh, wow, that's messed up.
Yeah.
How are they going to handle this? And so the next night on Raw, they had
Okay, so hold on a second. Wait a second.
interview with Vince where Mr. McMahon was born.
Yeah. Wait, so you had heard about it?
Yeah.
How did you remember how you heard about it?
I read about it somewhere, I think.
Because I didn't get into stuff until after the Montreal Screwjob, so I sort of retroactively was like, who's this Bret Hart guy and why does he look depressed all the time when he was in WCW? I was like, oh, cool, everybody's making a big deal about Bret Hart. Let's see this guy. Why does he look so sad? And then,
he, even at his peak, he never really looked that happy.
That's true, he didn't.
He's always very serious.
Relax, Bret. Oh, but anyways, and then, of course, there's that fantastic documentary, Wrestling with Shadows.
Yes.
Hitman Hart.
That just happened to follow him during this entire
crazy
process of him negotiating with WCW, this whole screw job. I mean, the cameras are backstage after Vince stumbles out of his locker room after getting knocked out by Bret.
My favorite part is when I think it's Bret's wife is running down Triple H. Don't tell me you didn't know about this, Hunter. You know about it. Yeah. He was like, no, I promise I didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. He's got that cheesy polo shirt on because he was still kind of the effete, French guy.
Oh, he was the Connecticut Blue Blood.
Thank you. Yeah, Connecticut Blue Blood. Yeah, he was the French guy in WCW.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a lot of fun. I always love talking. That's the most joyful moment in wrestling for me. You know what? It's not real, Bret. It was like, I told Vince, I said it'd be like assassinating my character. It'd be like shooting me in the head in Canada, in front of all my fans. You know what?
See, I'm surprised he didn't look at that as an inverse. Book it so DX essentially storyline-wise screws him out of the title.
Yeah.
That's a huge face thing.
They'll follow you anywhere you go.
I know. If you get screwed storyline-wise out of the title, you're going to get a lot of face heat.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I don't understand why.
I don't know. Roll with it, man.
Yep.
It's a business.
It is a business.
It's a business. Anyways, number 2. David Arquette.
So this was a tag team match, right? That happened on Thunder.
This is surprising to say the least.
I know that.
There's so many things that are surprising here.
So the match was Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and Eric Bischoff against DDP and Arquette. DDP was the champion at the time.
Was this the main event?
I can't even answer that question.
Or was it Goldberg versus Norman Smiley then?
I guess Kimberly, DDP's wife, was referee, but Mickey J, longtime WCW ref, was a secondary ref.
Now, Kimberly ended up real life with Jeff Jarrett, right?
No, you always get that wrong. It's Karen Angle, Kurt Angle's ex-wife.
Right. But DDP and Kimberly are not an item anymore.
No.
I wonder what happened.
They've been divorced for a while.
Okay.
So it was a situation where it was a tag match, but whoever scored the pinfall win would be the new champion.
Yeah.
And so, of course, this is when Vince Russo was booking WCW.
Yeah, this is Vince. This is all Vince Russo.
Oh yeah, he claims that it was Tony Schiavone's idea about Arquette winning the title. And then Russo just did this to kind of pop ratings.
What are the odds that
and then David Arquette got on the cover of USA Today? And this match was trying to promote that movie Ready to Rumble, even though the movie had already been out at this point.
So once again, this was a licensing deal, sort of an informal licensing deal between WCW and then a movie.
And I think 2 weeks later, during the movie's run, 2 weeks after this match, the movie's still in theaters and it got a slight bump.
Yeah. Well, when he lost the title, I think.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Like that.
At Slamboree, which happened, 12 days later.
People were tired. People were no longer sick they were no longer disgusted by WCW. So I'll go watch that movie. He's not champ anymore.
But it was a situation. The match was where.
What do you think? Let me ask you. What do you think the odds are that Tony Schiavone was trolling Vince Russo when he brought that up?
He might have been.
At the very least, just joking around. Hey, you should put that on David Arquette.
If David Arquette's in the match, you just put the title on him, right? Yeah, bro.
Hey, bro, what a great idea, bro.
That'll pop ratings.
That'll pop right. He'll be on the cover of USA Today, bro. So everybody in a hotel room can maybe see him.
In the upper, left corner, something like that, of the front page.
Exactly.
Oh,
my eggs are here. Who's that idiot? Anyways, I don't know. We're nuking Russia.
The finish saw a double pin, if I remember correctly, where who did Arquette pin? Bischoff, I'm sure.
I don't know, man.
And then, but the ref only counted that pinfall, and so Arquette was awarded the belt.
Yeah, there was like a double count. Yeah, no, he only saw that one. Yeah, double pin.
But didn't DDP and Arquette celebrate afterwards?
Yeah.
Why would DDP celebrate? He just lost the title.
Well, because he was his tag team partner.
But he lost the title.
Yeah, but he knew that I wasn't real. He knew that he can probably take it off him if he wanted to.
But he didn't, because at Slamboree, Arquette swerved DDP, and Jeff Jarrett was a champion.
DDP doesn't seem like kind of guy who has that much foresight. He's good at yoga, though.
He is.
he's just a good guy.
He's a good motivational speaker, too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's good for that kid. I just love that when they told DDP said this, when they told him the finish of the match, he thought they were joking. He said, what? All right, man. Could you imagine? What a shit show. Could you imagine working there? God. And nobody knows. God, that's just.
No, thank you.
I mean, it's bad enough you hear about WWE, their writers turnaround is 3 months. The average writers is there for 3. Because it's just got to be frustrating. Okay, so, man, Vince doesn't want Jinder to win now? Is that solid? Yeah, no, it's solid. Okay, so we can write this now.
2 hours before the show.
Okay. Hey, Steve Larson.
Yes, Vince.
I'm making a change. Jinder's going over. And then tomorrow we're going to have a big Indian celebration.
Okay, Vince.
Jinder goes over. Book it.
All right, Vince.
Fuck, we got 2 hours. Oh, God, so annoying. I just want to go back and do comic books. Anyways. Yeah, so Arquette, how long did he have the title for? 12 days.
12 days.
Okay, lost it to Slamboree 2000 in a trip. Oh, yeah, and then 3 cages on top of each other. Yeah. And
those matches always go well.
Yeah, those were great. And Double J, he turned on DDP. Double J ended up with the belt. Did somebody get hit with a guitar in that match?
Yeah, I think Arquette hit the DDP with guitar.
Of course they did. Of course it did.
See, this one, Arquette winning was a surprise by the time Russo had won it.
Oh, yeah.
In a way, it just made sense.
Yeah, it was an inevitability at that point.
At that point, it seemed like it was inevitable that it was going to happen.
Oh, that's going to happen. He's going to have his stupid sleeveless shirt tucked into his...
No, that's when he had the football helmet on and pads.
Oh, God.
And he still got concussed.
Oh, man. It was just another week of TV. That's how he put
it.
Anyways. Number one. Ivan Koloff beats Bruno Sammartino.
I believe this show, or the end of it, was known as the night the Garden went silent.
Yeah, man.
Madison Square Garden.
Now there is some very grainy Zapruder-esque film of this happening.
Yes,
but I don't believe there's any audio to this.
I don't think so.
There's one actually really well done. Somebody on YouTube put their own commentary on it, and I don't know if their equipment is just crap or if
it sounded like it was
on purpose.
Of the era.
It actually sounds like it's of the era, and I was like, this sounds pretty subdued enough to be of the era. Everything's so no soul back then.
Yeah.
And Ivan Koloff back to Bruno.
So at this point, Bruno had been champ for almost 8 years, from May of 1963.
Unbelievable.
And this match took place on January 18th, 1971.
Bruno has a really good rundown of sort of his career on the Legends with JBL.
Yeah.
I always recommend it. It's amazing.
Did he talk about exactly what his schedule was like back then?
I'm almost positive he said it's as crazy as we. I thought he's the one who said
8 matches a week, stuff like that.
Yeah, 6 matches a week and 2 on Sunday.
That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely insane. And literally the only reason they had him lose to Ivan Koloff is because he said, I need a break. 8 years. Yeah, he needs a break.
Yeah.
Of course he does.
Yes, he does.
Anyways.
So if I remember correctly, it was Koloff who finished the match with a knee of some sort, and then pinfall was counted, and then everybody just went silent, gasped.
It'd be like when Lesnar beat Undertaker,
Yeah.
but like a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, like people like
So I talk about in
that one dude with like his eyes all bulging out. It would've been
the Hogan-Andre match where Hogan hadn't lost in 4 years.
yeah.
And then, Bruno hadn't lost in almost 8.
Yeah. So,
Shocking.
Yeah, double it.
Yes,
Yeah.
almost double.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But then, so Koloff won the belt, but he only had it for 3 weeks.
Which, again, is kind of shocking.
And then lost it to Pedro Morales.
Right. And then Bruno got it again in December of 73, so about 2 years later. Yeah.
And they held it for 3 more years.
Yeah. Yeah. So that dude had it for like 11 years. Does he have he has longest for like total?
I think he has the longest total combined reign, I think.
Okay, yeah. Wowie, wow.
It's pretty crazy.
No, that is crazy. Bill Apter is quoted as saying it felt like they were at a funeral.
Is this here from some notes you have here? That,
I looked at Wikipedia notes.
Okay.
Yeah, during his time.
No, I was going for the finish of the match. So that after the pin, that Koloff walked to the ref, and the ref raised his hands 3 times. Announcer came in the ring with the title, but they didn't want any riots.
Yeah.
So no one actually gave the belt to
Koloff. Right.
Instead, he left the ring, and Bruno remained in the ring. So I guess Koloff could walk out of the ring without a riot happening.
It sounds like a really freaky situation. An audience of, speculate, 15,000, 17,000?
Yeah, the Garden's a pretty good size arena.
Okay. That many people just... It'd be like, that scene in The Birds when all the birds are just there. And they're all just staring at her.
Well, back then, too, they didn't have the huge...
But these are people, not birds.
Huge, elaborate sets.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they only have the entryway, and, every seat is probably filled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So, there could be close to 20,000 people.
Yeah. So you win it, and everybody's just staring at you like... Or they're crying at you.
Yeah.
Like, what do? You're just like, all right, I'm out of here. Like, there's nothing more terrifying than like silence when you're in front of a big crowd. Like when we did the old Inside Gaming Awards. Like that's kind of the one time we were in front of like a big we were the focal point in front of a big crowd, and there's like a couple hundred people there. Yeah. And it's weird. I can't imagine what it would be like in front of 20,000.
I know.
And just like
who are that surprised,
who are just shocked and weirded out, and you have no idea like any one guy can have a gun because they probably didn't check that stuff back then. Like they didn't know.
I don't know.
Somebody have a gun, man. Saturday Night Special, a little tiny one,
like
that. I learned that. Anyways, so there you go. There are the 10 most surprising title changes in history. If you can think of any others,
world title victories.
World title. Let us know in the comments. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.